Good day, fellow Jersey nerds, and welcome to episode 55 of the Jersey Nerds podcast, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. I'm your host, Ryan, and today on the Nerdcast, we're going to be taking our final look at the 2019 Winter Classic jerseys, Boston versus Chicago. We've got the official releases over the past week, so we'll wrap up our thoughts here and put a nice little Winter Classic bow on it. And this is the Winter Classic themed episode, so we're also going to be going through year by year and picking out our favorite jerseys from all of those matchups. This week on Throwback Throwdown, we're going to be touching on the WHA. And then for Fake or Authentic, we're going to be getting back into our Winter Classic theme. And what would one of the Jersey Nerds podcasts be without our co-hosts, our writers, our friends of the show, Tuesday writer, Ben. What's going on, Ben?
Not a whole lot, although I am recording a podcast.
Yeah, love having Ben on. Ben makes a rare appearance here on the podcast, and I think Bpoe is going to be upset because Ben kind of stole his line there. Also on the show, Thursday's writer, Shawn. What's going on?
Doing fine. Today's jersey is a classic, and one that I think in recent years has gotten a little bit of love thanks to a subtly unknown design feature. I, of course, am talking about the original Blue Jackets road jersey, the blue one, featuring your boy Stinger, the original Gritty.
The original
Minus
Gritty.
the personality.
And the beard.
And the beard.
And the googly
But he
eyes.
had weird eyes.
Yeah, but they didn't Google like Gritty. I mean,
No, Stinger's just... I like Stinger. I think he's a good shoulder patch.
nothing wrong with Stinger. And maybe
Name on the back for this one, you got to go with my boy Ronnie Tugnut
Ron Tugnut. Tuggers.
or David Faborny, the original Columbus Star.
Wouldn't that be Jeff Sanderson?
Kenny Panarin.
Yeah, but he was Jeff Sanderson was a Whaler, a Coyote, and a Blue Jacket.
Well,
Did
was...
he ever play for a contender?
No. Oh, God, no.
Or Jeff Sanderson. Everybody pour one out for Jeff Sanderson. At Jeff Sanderson. Want to cheer yourself up? Come on the podcast.
And also joining us here on the Nerdcast is friend of the show, Bpoe. Hey, Bpoe, what's going on?
Just recording a podcast, Ryan, and just so you know, I'm not mad at Ben for taking my line because it can be our line, even though it's not communist Russia.
Oh,
Not my line, it's our line.
This podcast is known for being extremely pro-communism. I think if...
This podcast is not sponsored by communist Russia, it is sponsored by Cunt Wars.
Oh, God. I think if there's one thing that people take away each week after listening to the podcast is, wow, those guys really love communism. That's one thing that people definitely take away. So we have everyone here. We're all ready to go. And the Winter Classic jerseys await our approval. Let's get to it. So the Winter Classic jerseys had their official release. Now we gave our opinions rather on the leaks that came out several months ago, which proved to be accurate. And now that we have the official release, let's just wrap it up here. Overall, I would say I'm really happy with these clean looking throwback, I guess you could say faux back because they've combined eras. Jerseys, we got Boston. I guess they're going to be the white colored jersey, but there's a lot of brown on that jersey. They went with dark brown, and they've gone with the B logo, but the B is modified after their current modern logo. Chicago went with the black and white jersey, multiple stripes, and they've gone with their modern logo inside a roundel. Both these jerseys heavily inspired by the 30s. Shawn, here's your chance to wrap this up with a bow and just overall what you think of what the game's going to look like.
All right, Boston, solid job here, okay? Nice little 8 out of 10. But, Chicago. I think Foreigner said this once, they were saying, like, I've been waiting for some Hawks like you. Come into my life. And they have. And this is the jersey I've been waiting almost a decade to see. I love it. Probably going to get it, despite how crappy they are. Get Cam Ward on the back of it.
Oh, no. These are pretty good jerseys. I think I'd be actually willing to add both of these to my collection. I really like both of them. Ben, just wrapping up your thoughts here on the Winter Classic jerseys.
Well, first of all, I'm a little disappointed that Shawn didn't pick the most irrelevant Blackhawk. Like that wasn't in his show prep. The most irrelevant player to mention in this segment.
No, I didn't have time to look up the most irrelevant player on the Blackhawks roster. Ben calling me out, as he should, for not doing my research today.
Wait, if you look up the most irrelevant player and a player shows up, does that mean they are somewhat relevant and therefore not the most irrelevant?
Bpoe asking the real questions.
Getting deep on the Jersey Nerds podcast with Bpoe. When the podcast really blows up, Bpoe, and we can branch off into sub podcasts, that's what we'll do. Just getting deep with Bpoe. And you can just spend half hour asking questions.
The Jersey Nerds Philosophy Podcast. Fake or authentic, a hot dog is a sandwich.
Oh God, that's for later. That's for in a couple years when we're still doing the podcast and the lockout's on, and we'll need material at that point. So we'll have the hot dog podcast. Bpoe, just your thoughts on these jerseys here to wrap it all up.
His thoughts.
What? I thought Ben was. We'll come back to. Okay, then it's.
I think our first HJC sub podcast should be us reviewing jerseys.
All right, next segment. So we're on to the Throwback Throwdown.
Oh God! All right, I rudely skipped over Ben. I thought Ben had finished his thoughts.
Everybody,
but...
thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you just hit that like button if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you want to subscribe to us.
Don't the kids smash the like button these days?
Yeah, I accidentally said hit that like button. I actually have a presentation for a class coming up on Thursday, which I'm going to tell my class to smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Not even kidding. I'm going to do that.
All right, I rudely skipped over Ben, so let's let Ben finish his thoughts because I don't want to ignore Ben here on the Nerdcast.
Yeah, these are two really solid jerseys. This might be the Unicorn Winter Classic just because it's rare that Adidas gives us two beauties at the same time. Really like Boston's. I wish they'd gone with the slightly lighter brown just so it came across. I thought it was black when I first saw it. I really like how they went back to the old yearbooks, brought it out. They changed it up a little bit just so they can make it their own and unique. Chicago, the only problem I have with it is there's no red on it. I think just black and white it's a little too monotonous. I need something to break that up, but I love the design. I love how they threw back. Two really solid jerseys. Can't believe I'm saying this, but good work, Adidas. try to keep it up if you can.
They've set the bar too high for themselves now. Jeez. Bpoe, just your thoughts here, and you were the one actually who brilliantly pointed out the differences in the logo that they're using. They are using a version of their current logo.
Funny enough, that actually came across because I was trying to recolor the current logo into the other one so I could make concept, and I just realized, wait a minute, this is different. I really like the subtle changes to the logos, though, or to that logo, though. But let me just touch on Boston real quick. I already gave a lot of my opinion last week. If you haven't listened to that, go do it now. But all I'm going to say about that one is that it's a great jersey. The inconsistency doesn't bother me anymore. And one thing I did forget to mention, I love how they used the modern version of the B instead of the vintage one. It still looks vintage, but it's a nice tie into the modern brand. Now the Blackhawks, that logo is beautiful, especially in the way that they subtly changed the logo to match vintage aesthetics a little bit better. And the only thing I really don't like about it is the black and white color palette. However, while this doesn't make it look much better, I can give it a pass because of the vintage aesthetic of it and the fact that it's a callback to their past. But other than that, it's a beautiful jersey. I'm glad that it's not the same away jersey they've been wearing every time, with maybe a subtle logo change. And the only other thing is that I'd be intrigued to see what it looks like with the shoulders completely striped up like they used to be. Not sure if it would look better, but I'd be intrigued to see it at the very least.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had done some tests, some on-ice tests, and just found that it wasn't working. But yes, it would be cool to see a version with the multiple stripes up on the shoulder. I think they're not there because they need to use the event logo as a patch on the shoulder. So that's just my guess. I really obviously don't know. One thing that I did enjoy from the jerseys is the numbering style. We saw it on the leaked mock-up. We saw a couple photos of Charo wearing the jersey and Taves wearing the jersey. I really like the way the captain's patch. It's not squished. It's squat. The C, it's squat on both jerseys. But I think it looks good and really adds to the throwback feel. I don't know if you guys would agree. We'll start with you, Shawn. But do you find the numbers that they've chosen for both jerseys are adding to the throwback feel?
I think so. I think that we're not quite getting that 2010 Buffalo alternate or Montreal level of throwback, but it's a good little deviation from what we're used to seeing, but not to the point where the Blackhawks numbers are still Blackhawks numbers. The Bruins numbers, not so much, but I do like one thing that you'll find with vintage jerseys is the way that the arm numbers don't match the numbers on the back. With regards to outline, no outline, and some teams keep this alive to this day, but it's nice to see that upkept, and I think that it's honestly a pretty good way to distinguish a real from a fake.
That's a great point. Ben, maybe some little detail here that we've perhaps overlooked, such as the numbers that maybe have added or don't add to this jersey that you've seen?
The numbers don't mean a whole lot to me. They're kind of like indoor plumbing. You only notice it when something goes wrong. One detail, I don't know if you guys caught this, but is that a new collar from Adidas?
I believe that's the same collar that Buffalo and New York wore last year. That's what it looks like to me.
Last year, then. Never mind.
But the collar does come up later in the podcast in fake or authentic. I think that is it's a great collar from Adidas. I'm really glad that they're using it, and I think they're using it well in the Winter Classic jerseys. Bpoe, any details stick out to you, either positively or negatively?
I know, I really like the numbers. The one positive thing that really sticks out to me is Chicago's number style. You can really see it on that 9, how the top of it, for lack of better words, is more squat, kind of like you said with the captain's patch. It really stuck out to me from the beginning. It was a very interesting quirk about it, but I really like it. It's very unique. Yeah,
absolutely. Overall, I mean, we've given ratings before, but might as well. This is the final look at these jerseys. And I gave my ratings on the hockeyjerseyconcepts.com blog post about these jerseys. I gave Boston a 9 out of 10. And I gave Chicago an 8.5 out of 10. Boston's just a little bit better, but I think both jerseys are really excellent, and I'd really like to add both jerseys to my collection. So this is the absolute final rating for the Winter Classic jerseys. Shawn, what do you got?
8 out of 10 for Boston again. It's solid. Chicago, it's tough. They will not get the perfect rating. I agree with Ben. A little bit of red might have been nice. They will get the 9.75.
Just a little bit of red would have added that quarter percentage there. Quarter mark, whatever. Ben, your final rating for these before we put them to bed.
I'll give Boston an A- and then Chicago right behind with the B+.
It is a solid looking game. Bpoe, you're the last one to give ratings on the 2019 Winter Classic jerseys.
I wonder how different this is going to be from last week's rating of the Boston jersey that I did. But I'm going to give Boston an 8.5 and Chicago a 9. And speaking of putting in the bed, I would gladly have both of these in bed.
I would like to take those two fine jerseys to bed. That would be a real treat for me. So that is our look. I think we looked several times at the Boston and Chicago Winter Classic jerseys, but frankly, the Winter Classic jerseys are kind of one of the bigger jersey highlights of the year. So,
tune into next week's podcast where we talk about the Winter Classic jerseys again.
And see if our opinions have changed. We look at all photos in black and white and see if they've improved at all. All right, so now that we've covered the 2019 game, let's get into the jersey matchups from each of the individual years And we'll go through this rather quickly, or else this could be a 3-hour podcast. But we'll go year by year and choose our winners from each year. So let's start off with 2008. This was in Buffalo. Pittsburgh was the visiting team. Buffalo wore their white retros. Pittsburgh wore their powder blue retros. My choice here is Buffalo just because it's a unique jersey that you couldn't buy on the shelves, and I thought the colors worked really well together. So Buffalo is my pick for 2008. Shawn?
I think these are both solid jerseys. I'm actually going to give it to Pittsburgh just because I own the jersey, not the Winter Classic version. But, that jersey really grew on me. And it was one of those jerseys you really associate with Crosby and Gonchar, of all people.
Gonchar. Ben, 2008 winner?
I'll take Buffalo on this one.
And Bpoe.
I'm going to go Penguins. That might be a bit of a homer with this one, but I love the colors. I love how it's a deviation from their black and gold brand that they'd had for a long time beforehand. And Buffalo's is a little bit inconsistent. That's always bothered me, but it's still a really nice jersey. But I got to go Pittsburgh.
So, as all Winter Classics do, this vote ends in a tie. Let's move.
Sidney Crosby going to score in the shootout for this one again?
Right through the snow. That's the slowest shootout you've ever seen. Let's move now to 2009. This one was at Wrigley Field in Chicago. We got the Blackhawks hosting the Red Wings. This is the Blackhawks black jersey with the vintage white stripe going through the middle. And Detroit had the white jersey with the big red stripe going through the middle. I take Chicago every day of the week in this matchup. And when they made the modifications and put on the shoulder patch and made it their alternate jersey, I thought it got even better. So I'm taking Chicago. Shawn?
I'm giving it to Detroit because, as you'll know if you've read the blog for any number of time, I don't like that Chicago jersey. It's fine. It's a 7 out of 10. But my boy Ty Conklin starting his second straight Winter Classic in that Detroit jersey. And let me tell you, he's a record setter.
That was his third straight outdoor game as well because he started for Edmonton in 2003 Heritage Classic. So, Ty Conklin, a veteran of outdoor games. If you need attendee for your outdoor game, you call Ty Conklin. Ben, Detroit and Chicago from 2009.
I'll take Chicago in this one. I think Detroit is fine, but the inconsistency between the socks to the jersey and the stripe thickness, it's a bit jarring. I think Chicago is consistent all the way around, which is why I like them more here.
A surprising result there. The Red Wings fan going with the Blackhawks jersey. Bpoe, who you got on 2009?
This is a tough one, but I'm going to say Chicago too. I think the color, especially, the red, which is really the only color, accents the black really well, and the cream stripe just helps with that. And one really unique detail I like it about is that little triangle on the pants. It's a direct throwback from what they wore before, but I'm not sure I've really ever seen that otherwise.
No,
I don't really know what it means either.
The pants were really cool. And
does anybody have any idea what that means or why it's there?
What means?
The little triangle on the pants.
From 2009.
Aside from the fact that it was a direct throwback.
I think it's supposed to be a vaguely native thing, like very vague.
Like 1930s vague?
Like 1930s vague.
Like, oh.
I can kind of see that, honestly. Makes it even better.
So I get, the 2019 pants that Chicago's going to use are sort of the same style. They don't have the triangle, but they have the vertical stripe going down the side of the leg, and then the trim around the bottom of the pants. So
they don't have the triangle. What the hell is that? 0 out of 10.
0. Burn the pants. There's no triangle. All right, let's go to 2010. This one was at Fenway. Boston hosted Philadelphia. These were Boston's gold jerseys, and Philadelphia wore pretty much the jersey that they wear now on the road. I'm taking Boston, and I would take Boston 100 times over in this matchup. This Philly jersey, well, not bad, just maybe the worst Winter Classic jersey to date. Shawn, Boston, Philadelphia, 2010. Who you got?
I remember at the time heavily debating actually getting a Philadelphia jersey because, again, my boy Michael Layton. But it was a downgrade. It's one of the only Winter Classics where I look at the jerseys and go, yeah, Philly actually downgraded in that Winter Classic game. So Boston wins it. Marco Sturm wins it,
Overtime. Ben, Wrigley Field, Fenway, Boston, Philadelphia, who you got?
Yeah, I got to take Boston. Just leaps and bounds better than Philly here.
And Bpoe, is this a clean sweep for Boston?
No, I'm going to take the fly. No, I'm kidding.
I knew you were going to
Flyers-
do that. You can't help yourself.
I can't. It's a nice jersey. I am kind of glad that it became their primary or away jersey. Of course, not their primary, but Boston's is leaps and bounds better, especially the color on it. As you guys all know, I love color, and this is no exception.
All right, 2011. This is at Heinz Field. Pittsburgh hosted Washington. Pittsburgh wore their navy jerseys with the 5 blue stripes and vintage white. And Washington wore the retro white jerseys with the red shoulders and the old style logo on the front. I own this Pittsburgh jersey, so I'm taking Pittsburgh in this battle. Shawn?
I'm also going to take Pittsburgh. That jersey has really grown on me despite its bad luck for number 87. My pick for that jersey, probably Thomas Vokoun, a very underrated Penguins backup.
All right,
I'm
Ben.
a Pens fan, and I even forgot he was on the team at that point. That's how relevant he is. Well, that's not true. He did play really good for us for a while. I just forgot he was with us at that time.
He was pretty good. Ben, Pittsburgh or Washington?
I like Washington here. There's just way too much going on in the Pittsburgh jerseys. It's a tragic use of light blue and dark blue. I think Washington did much better here.
And Bpoe, you taking your hometown team?
I am. This is a really tough one for me because, of course, there's the bad luck of that jersey. But I'm just giving it to them mainly because of the originality of it. It was a faux back rather than a direct throwback like the Capitals were. It honestly, asked me in 5 minutes, I've changed my mind. It's such a. I'm really going back and forth between them.
Get the fence.
I'm just gonna use my bias and say Pittsburgh.
All right. Pittsburgh takes 2011. Let's go to 2012. This one was in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia hosted the Rangers. This is where we got the penalty shot called near the end of the game. I think Danny Briere had it against Lundqvist, and Lundqvist made the stop. But we have Philly in their kind of made-up faux back orange jerseys with the black yolks and the vintage white. And we have the Rangers in a full vintage white uniform with the blue yolks and a full shield logo. So I took Philly here. The Rangers uniform was good, but I just think Philly looked pretty solid here. A little bit better than the Rangers. Shawn?
I completely agree. Again, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it to Philly. I think those jerseys, I think both jerseys should have been alternates. But Philly decided to make theirs an alternate, so they win.
Ben?
I gotta take Philly as well. The thing that kills it for me with New York is the red pants. I hate it when teams use the light color for. So Philly doesn't make that mistake. They get my pick here.
And Bpoe?
I'm going to take the Rangers on this one, not because Philly has a bad jersey. They have a good jersey, but I've just coined this matchup, the battle of the inconsistent jerseys. So I can't really take one over the other because of consistency. So I'm really giving it to the Rangers because I just really like the way the colors stand out against that cream background. It just looks gorgeous. And I like the fact that they used a shield logo and kind of distanced themselves from their usual diagonal script. It was a nice little change of pace.
Okay, let's move to 2014 and the only Winter Classic game that I've attended. This was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Detroit hosted Toronto. And yes, because of my love for the Maple Leafs, I am taking the Maple Leafs in this battle. But I really do think the jersey was better. And I love the kind of reworking of the font inside the Maple Leaf to make it look, give it that retro look. So I'm taking the Leafs on this matchup. Shawn?
This is tough because I have the Jersey Casual sticker, which you should all get, by the way, of that Leafs jersey on the side of my PS4, but I own the Detroit jersey. But honestly, that Detroit roster had nobody on it that I really liked. So I'm giving it to Toronto. For my boy, MacArthur wasn't on the team at that point. Damn. Tyler Bozak.
Bozak with the shootout winner.
Bozak.
All right. Ben, are you taking the Red Wings on this one?
Yeah, I got to go with the Red Wings on this one. As much as I love Toronto, this is probably a top 5 Winter Classic all time. Really like Detroit here. I liked how they reworked the logo. I really liked how they put in an arching word mark. It's one of my favorite things to see in hockey. I really like how this opened the floodgates for yoke stripes and concepts, and I think hockey jersey design has been better because of it.
I really liked all the details on Detroit's jersey. I just wasn't a fan of the actual stripes because it wasn't something that we had seen from Detroit before. Still a good jersey, though. Bpoe, you going to make this a tie, or are you taking Toronto?
I'm going to make this a tie. I'm going with Detroit. I just love this jersey. Maybe it's just because I like the color red better than the color blue sometimes, or in this case, anyways. I think the red works better than blue. I don't know why. I'm looking at a picture right now. The red's more attractive to me. The arched word mark over the logo is, I don't know if I like the fact that it's there, but the typography on this jersey from that to the back numbers and name is beautiful. The logo reworking, as mentioned, is beautiful. The only thing that maybe could have made this better is using regular white. Honestly, I'm not even sure because vintage white has been growing on me lately.
I think the vintage white works in this situation. So there we go. 2014 is a tie. Detroit, Toronto, equally good jerseys. Moving on to 2015, Washington hosted Chicago. Washington came up with a completely new faux back design. This was the stripes in place of shoulder yokes. The W logo, kind of shaped like the Washington Monument. Kind of a darker red. Chicago wore essentially their white jersey without any cuffs. Vintage logo on this one? I don't even remember. And collar laces. So Washington, Chicago. I'm taking Washington on this one. Washington may had, aside from Toronto, this may have been my favorite Winter Classic jersey. So I'm taking Washington 2015. Shawn.
I want to give it to Chicago because it's my favorite Chicago jersey. I own it, wear it all the time. Fantastic, Marion Hossa and all that. But Washington just blew it out of the water here. My boy Jay Beagle rocking that jersey, called up from the Hershey Bears that year a few times, I think. So we're giving it to Washington. But Ryan's right, probably the best Winter Classic jersey outside of maybe Montreal and New York.
Ben?
As much as I love Washington here and the originality and creativity, I have to go with Chicago. Their white jersey is probably top 3 in the history of hockey. Really no reason to retool something that's that great.
Bpoe.
I got to give it to the Chicago on this one on the virtue of creativity. I'm just kidding. Definitely got to give this to Washington. Chicago's jersey is very nice, and the changes that they made to their regular away jersey are very nice. I wish they added the vintage logo to this one like they did a couple years later, but that's besides the point. Washington's are a great combination of a beautiful-looking jersey, great colors, and originality and creativity. Just a great combination, and like you guys mentioned, probably one of the best Winter Classic jerseys, if not the best.
All right, let's crush through the last 4 years here. 2016, Boston hosted Montreal. I'll never like anything Montreal does, and that's the end of that. So Boston gets my vote here. Shawn.
All right, well, I don't hate the Habs, and I like the Bruins less, but frankly, that Montreal jersey is one of 3 jerseys in NHL history that gets a perfect 10 from me. My God, were these jerseys beautiful. The Montreal team was terrible. Mike Condon, the traitor Senators backup, played an all right. Actually, no, I think Ben Scrivens played in that game, too.
No, Condon got the call, because I was a Scrivens fan, and I was really hoping he'd get the call there.
If Ben Scrivens got the call, that'd be a lot better. But I'm gonna, who would be my boy on that team? Ben Scrivens keeping that bench warm outdoors. Montreal wins this by far. Please, Montreal. There's your alternate. Bring it back.
Ben.
I have to go with Montreal as well. So
Bpoe. Bpoe.
I originally didn't like the Montreal jerseys as much, but they've really grown on me, so I definitely got to say Montreal. It might be the color. I think it's the color that just pops out to me more, but Montreal's jersey just really pops out at me a lot more.
All right. Unfortunately, Montreal wins the 2016 battle. 2017, St. Louis hosted Chicago. Chicago, kind of a rehash of their 2015 here. They continued the stripes all the way down to the hem, and they used a vintage logo. St. Louis used a full-on retro jersey here, the kind of pro blue color it's been called, with the classic stripes and the off-white. Looked really, really stellar, and Chicago just kind of did something we've seen before. Nothing wrong with it, but a little unimaginative. So I'm taking St. Louis on this battle. Shawn.
Make it 2 for St. Louis. I do own this jersey. I love the font on the back. Holy smokes, is that a gorgeous font. And my boy, former Leaf, Alex Steen, rocking that jersey. Want you back, buddy. Come play in Toronto.
Ben, who are you taking?
I gotta take Chicago. Same reasons for 2015. One of the best jerseys in NHL history. They use it as a precedent because, of course, they did.
And Bpoe.
Gotta give the same opinion as 2015. Chicago for creativity. Nope, again, just kidding. Definitely St. Louis. It's not really much more creative than Chicago's, but at least we don't see a very similar version on a regular basis, despite how beautiful that regular basis version is. Also, one thing that I literally just noticed about it is that Chicago wore black helmets with the jersey.
Yes, that
nice
was
touch.
That was a change.
That's a very nice touch. It looks a little bit odd just because I'm not used to it, but it is a very nice touch, regardless.
All right, let's go to last year. I guess officially Buffalo hosted the Rangers, but we all know Rangers hosted Buffalo in this one. Buffalo kind of had their it's a faux back based on their original jersey, but they had a just solid blue yoke, no outline, double gold stripes on the hem and arms, and then that killer full Buffalo logo on the shoulder. The Rangers had the navy jersey with the what did they have? Rangers going down the front? Yes, they had Rangers going down the front with the patch on the front that was either NY.
No, they had Islanders going down the front.
That's right. Of course they did. So I am taking. Oh, this one's tough. Wow, just reflecting here, Adidas has actually done a good job on the last 2 Winter Classics, but I got to take Buffalo just because I love the look of the colors working together there. Shawn.
I'm giving it to the Rangers. Second jersey of the 3 that gets a perfect 10 in NHL history. Again, this thing I could gush over all I want. And my boy Andre Pavlik, hope you're enjoying retirement, buddy. Keeping that bench warm for Hendrik Lundqvist in that game. And Brady Shea, fresh off his SNL fame. Got a few jerseys made with that name on the back of it. Hope that second line D's doing well.
Ben, Buffalo or the Rangers?
I love the Rangers jersey, but the red pants just ruined it for me, and Buffalo is right there on the heels, so I have to take Buffalo in this one for the full uniform look.
And Bpoe.
This one's both incredibly tough and incredibly easy at the same time. I got to go with Buffalo. It's just a beautiful jersey. I have this one, and it's even better in person.
All right, and we've all given our comments on the 2019 jerseys, but let's pick the best one of the bunch. I'm taking Boston. Shawn.
I'm taking Chicago. And I'm going to throw out some love to my boy Brent Seabrook. You're still playing, right? You know, you're doing your thing. You know, probable Hall of Famer in a very weak year.
All right. Ben, who's got the best one this year?
I give Boston the higher rating, so Boston.
And Bpoe.
Another tie game here. I got to go with Chicago. We already talked about that. I'm not going to elaborate on it anymore.
All right, so now that we've gone through that, let's quickly, you don't even have to give a reason here, but let's quickly choose your best all-time Winter Classic jersey, one jersey, and then your best all-time looking matchup. So I'll start us off, and it's just my bias playing in here, but the Leafs Winter Classic jersey from 2014 is my favorite. Washington in 2015 was a close second, but I'm taking the Leafs. And best all-time looking matchup, it might have to be the matchup that hasn't happened yet, 2019. I think this might be the best looking overall Winter Classic matchup. Shawn.
My favorite of all time, I have to give to Montreal. Came first. I love the numbers, and I love that shade of blue on that jersey. That's just gorgeous. And my favorite matchup is that year. Those Boston jerseys were gorgeous. I don't think they get nearly enough credit. And any year they didn't have to face those perfect 10 Montreal jerseys, Boston would probably win that year. You put them up against almost anything except for maybe that Toronto, Detroit, and New York. Those Boston jerseys would win.
Ben, best looking jersey, best looking matchup.
I'm going to go back to 2014 as well, but I'm going to pick the Red Wings for best Winter Classic jersey ever. And then you've said it before, the Toronto jersey is so good, so I'll pick that year for best matchup.
And Bpoe.
I think I'm going to give the best jersey to Washington in 2015. I just love this one. The more I look at it, the better it gets, I think. And the best matchup has got to be 2014. That color on color especially is just incredible. I wish it was a trailblazer for more color on color games in the NHL, but sadly that doesn't seem to have been the case. Have there been any color on color since then?
Not only in the preseason.
White on white preseason game last year.
Yeah, well, Carolina likes to do it in their preseason, but no, nothing in the regular season. I suppose you could say Stadium Series Anaheim LA from the same year, but
no, Stadium Series 2016 or 17. Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, Philly. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Although there really hasn't been any color on color, because I mean, black is a color, but it's not like one of the vibrant colors. So.
Bpoe, save it for Reflections with Bpoe. Coming up later this week.
Soft piano music for
that. Just constantly playing in the background while we let Bpoe ramble about things and just see where it ends up. All right, so that is our Winter Classic discussion for now. We'll hop back into it when we get to fake or authentic. But right now, we do have to get to Throwback Throwdown. For Throwback Throwdown this week, we're looking at the original year, the inaugural year of the WHA, and we're going to take the Chicago Cougars and their gold jersey going up against the Philadelphia Blazers and their gold jersey. So just quick description of this Chicago Cougars jersey. White, gold, and green is the color scheme here. Gold base. We have triple white stripes on the yoke, the arms, and the hem, and those stripes are outlined in green. Just a totally 70s logo here. We got the cougar, which the tail kind of bends down and underneath the feet, and it forms some sort of C shape. If we get to the Philadelphia Blazers, this may be just a very simple and classic looking jersey. Again, gold base, broad red stripes on the arms and the hem, outlined in white, and the yoke was also red, outlined in white as well. TV numbers actually appeared on the yoke here for the Philadelphia Blazers. We had a gold collar that had a tie down on it, and they lasted all of one season in Philadelphia, moving to Vancouver after the inaugural WHA season. Let's start with the review of the Chicago Cougars jersey, and Ben, we'll start with you.
I mean, my first impression is the yellow is a bit much on this, especially with that darker green offsetting it, and then the white I think is blending in a little bit more than it wants to. I do like the logo. It's very simple. The cougar comes across nice. The hidden C is, well, it's not really a hidden C, but it's not blatant, so it's a nice little touch. That's why I have mixed feelings about this one.
All right, Bpoe, Chicago Cougars.
This is a very bright one. Actually, no, that's the other one. But this one's still very bright. They're both very bright. This one's a little bit... The striping is nice on this one, and it's very 70s. But this one's a little bit interesting because of how small the stripes are. It's a little bit hard to decipher all of them, and they kind of bleed together a little bit. The front numbers, that's a very interesting thing, that they have front numbers. They're like the Buffalo Sabres of the 70s, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Probably not. But I think they actually don't look too bad on this jersey, but I still don't think I love them. But I think this would be a lot better if you swapped over the colors, but still a nice jersey. How many times did I say "but" during that little rant?
Oh man, I can't wait for the new series. Bpoe's thoughts, Reflections with Bpoe. Sorry, We're going to have to nail down a name there. Shawn, Chicago Cougars.
Reflections of Bpoe socks.
Reflections from the fence. Go ahead,
fun
Shawn.
fact, I didn't realize Reebok designed these jerseys because, damn, those front numbers. God, I don't like these. The striping is terrible. Like, wow. Yeah, you have this nice shade of green, and you say, let's make our jerseys yellow. And you think, all right, then, so yellow and green with a little bit of white. Nope. Let's do yellow and white with a little bit of green. But then let's make our logo and numbers dominantly green. But then let's do an all right white jersey. Like, come on.
This is a jersey that makes Cougars everywhere very proud.
Fun fact about the Cougars. Terrible in their first year. Lost the finals in their second year. Terrible in their third year and folded. So,
that folded.
Literally parabolic curve right there from the Chicago Cougars in terms of results.
The Cougars were finals or bust.
Literally.
All right, let's move on to the Philadelphia Blazers here. Ben, lead us off.
For the Blazers, I like how the yellow is much more toned down in this one. I'm not sure how I feel about the word mark. It's very 70s. Looks like the Charlestown Chiefs. Of course, the hockey stick is in there because, of course. I think it's a little too simple for my taste. What I really don't like about it more than anything is the yellow yoke. How there's nothing else on the uniform that balances it out. It's just too overpowering there by itself.
Bpoe, the Philadelphia Blazers.
As I accidentally said, wait, hold on. Okay, there we go. As I accidentally said at the beginning of last review, this one is very bright. I know I like a lot of color, but this music, I'm going to need to pause. I can't stop myself from laughing. But all right, I'm pausing it. I forget where I left off. It's very bright. Okay, anyway, it's walking. I know I like color, but it's walking the fine line of being too much color and too bright. I'm not really sure which side of it falls on right now. The logo, like Ben said, very 70s. The striping, simple, keeps it clean. I think it could really benefit from a little bit of a darker red, but other than that, it's a nice, simple jersey, despite a lack of originality.
Shawn, cap us off here.
Yeah, so I don't know how color adjusted these 70s jerseys are in these photos I'm looking at. But the yellow's the better one. I think it's because if you look at the orange one, the pants leading into you look like a big, you look like a Gritty's cousin who never grew up out of the age of lawn darts. I mean, the Blazers are a quintessential WHA franchise. They're one of the ones everybody knows. Why? Bernie Parent. For those who don't know, Bernie Parent passed up on the chance to work with famed Leafs GM and residential cap wearer Harold Ballard to instead go to Philly for 1 year and then stay in Philly with a different team. These are, I don't know, I like them. They're very charmingly 70s terrible. Because as we all know, the 70s was just terrible, but everybody knew it was terrible. So you got stuff like this.
All right, it's time to pick a winner. Inaugural year of the WHA. The WHA just trying to find itself here, and the uniform designs were no different. I tried to pick two of the brightest gold jerseys I could think of, and this is what we came up with. This is what I came up with. I'll just lead us off and give my quick result here. I'm taking the Chicago Cougars just because I like the colors, and I think as far as if you had to pick a jersey that could fit into the 2019 landscape, the Chicago Cougars would do that best. So I'm taking Chicago here. Ben, who you have?
I'm going to take the Blazers. I think the Cougars jersey, especially the white jersey, is a disaster. While I'm not a fan of the Blazers, it's the least objectionable to me.
That's always a good result. This one's the least objectionable. Bpoe, Piano Man, who you got?
Well, it's funny I have the Blazers, but it's funny you mentioned the whole if you brought it back now, it would work better thing. I think it's not that it didn't change my opinion, but there's a picture I see of the Vancouver Giants who wore a Blazers throwback, which really just solidifies it for me. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It was on the CCM/Reebok Edge cut. Looks great.
Thank you. That was Bpoe's Reflections from the Fence. Shawn, who do you have here?
Oh my God! Have you guys seen the Rangers style Blazers script when they were in Vancouver? Those things are gorgeous. Like, holy crap! It's the black outline around the script. In fact, you could say adding the subtle amount of black would have done Philly a lot of good. You know what? I ragged on Chicago. I'm looking at them in the photos. They are not as bad as the mock-up made them look. I'm looking at these photos, and it's like, yeah, they look okay. On the ice, they look okay. And I have to give them credit. They balance the colors well between the home and road. So you know what? Despite everything I said about Chicago and it being a dumpster fire, which they are, Vancouver did their Blazers jerseys better. So Chicago gets my vote. Front numbers, Dave Dryden making the saves. Come on.
Did he really just manage to pull out no relevant player from a WHA team?
WHA.
Yes. I pulled out former Sabres stud Dave Dryden.
That's right, ladies. Shawn is expert at pulling out.
Side note,
Obscure
what the
players.
hell is the number font on that Vancouver Blazers jersey from 74-75? Or the name font?
Let's take a look.
What is that?
It's very close to Comic Sans, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like, without zooming in on it, it almost looks like Comic Sans. I would have said Comic Sans.
Oh, God.
I
think it's Comic Sans with an outline on it.
Okay.
It's not. I know enough about Comic Sans.
Just so listeners can get in on this, go to whauniforms.com, look up the 74-75 season, and by this point the Philadelphia Blazers had become the Vancouver Blazers and were using names on the back of their jerseys.
What's the name bar? There's a name bar with the Comic Sans like font.
I almost guarantee
Circular name bar too.
I almost guarantee that they were using the name bar. They were probably using the name bar on the yellow jerseys and then just took them off. They were probably on there with Velcro. Just took them off and slapped them on the red jersey when it was time to go on the road or something like that.
I'm trying to find a picture of this, like in gameplay.
You know how all those...
I like almost don't believe it, but then again, didn't the Alberta Oilers use something kind of like that too?
Yes.
Comic Sans, official font of the WHA.
If Vancouver had sort of that East Coast rap,
I don't have anything to say here. I just wanted to interrupt Shawn again.
Where all the guys wore hockey jerseys like they did in the early '90s in the rap music scene. That would be the jersey I could picture, like, you know, Vancouver's Biggie coming out in a video for, you know, making hand signs, keeping with the beat to the music video, and he's rocking the Vancouver Blazers jersey, and all of a sudden Vancouver Blazers jerseys are like $500. Thanks, Snoop Dogg. Now Springfield Indians jerseys are nearly impossible to find because you had to go and wear one.
We're going to have tangents from Shawn as well. Just a whole bunch of branch-off podcasts here.
With rap music playing in the background? No, it's got to be something irrelevant, considering his love for irrelevancy, apparently.
Back in black, because he loves the black jerseys. All right, so that ended up in a tie. That's a great throwback throwdown. We really solved some issues here. So this is
70 Talkie was all about the ties.
So this is where the listeners come into play. We need you to choose a winner of this throwback throwdown. We have the 72 Chicago Cougars or the 72 Philadelphia Blazers, both from the WHA. You can let us know who your winner is by emailing us podcast@hockeyjerseyconcepts.com or just send us a tweet at hockeyjc and let us know who your throwback throwdown winner is. Now let's get to fake or authentic. Fake or authentic? All right, fake or authentic gets back into kind of our Winter Classic theme here. Fake or authentic number one, and I kind of touched on this before. The knit collar by Adidas that has been used in the past two Winter Classics should be used exclusively for Winter Classics. Shawn, fake or authentic?
I think authentic, because I don't see a scenario where Adidas rolls out vintage jerseys that are old enough that they need that style collar, because all the vintage jerseys that we're seeing were worn in the Reebok era.
Ben, fake or authentic?
I'm going to say fake because I am for anything that will get rid of that horse collar that Adidas currently uses.
Bpoe, fake or authentic? Knit collar exclusively for Winter Classics.
I'm going to say authentic, assuming nothing different comes up in the future, like some sort of like whole every team wears a throwback. But definitely authentic. I don't see any reason to take it out of the Winter Classic. Like Shawn said, there's not really much of a reason to do so. And keep it special, you know? Like even if Buffalo brought back their Winter Classic jersey, or New York did as an alternate, change the collar. You don't need the collar on there. Just keep it to the Winter Classic, or if you decide to wear those jerseys again for a couple games in the same season, you don't need to buy a whole new set for that. That's pointless.
All right, good stuff. Fake or authentic? Number 2, if I could only choose if I could only choose one between the Winter Classic toque or knit hat and the Winter Classic patch, I would choose the patch. So which Winter Classic accessory would you choose? I choose the patch. Shawn, fake or authentic on that?
I've seen some really nice toques. That being said, I'm going to go with the patch because, if I end up getting the jersey at some point, I need a patch to go on it. What's a Winter Classic jersey without a patch on it? And even if it doesn't have a patch on it, it might be the crappy Reebok ones, depending on the year you got it. So you might want to take a little bit of thread cutters to it and put on an actual patch.
I thought you would have wanted to celebrate the backup goalies and would have gone with the Winter Classic toque there, but...
Well, if it's Ben Scrivens or Andre Pavlik, I got to wear what they wear all game, which ain't a goalie helmet, let me tell you. But I don't know if it's Brent Johnson, he's starting that year.
Oh, man. Shawn, you're fantastic. Ben, fake or authentic, I would choose the patch.
Fake. I want the toque. A patch. A patch really doesn't do anything. It's not very versatile. You put it on the jersey, and then it's always associated with the Winter Classic when it should just be associated with your team, just walking around for everyday use, and you don't necessarily have to remember that you played an outdoor game once some time ago. Toques keep your head warm. I mean, that's 6 months of solid use, depending on where you live.
Great point there with the functionality of the selected accessory. Bpoe, fake or authentic? Choose the patch.
Overall, this one's very dependent on if I own or will own the jersey or not. But as a general rule, I'm going to say the patch anyways, because the toque, I can buy other toques. I don't necessarily need the Winter Classic ones. And I do have a bit of a patch collection, as you guys can see on the video feed right now. And if you guys feel like paying for it, you listeners can also see it on the video feed.
$75 a week
for
the video feed. And then you get to see Bpoe's patch collection. It's a doozy. All right, for this next fake or authentic, we got a pretty good distribution here. 2 Americans, 2 Canadians on the podcast today. But judging by our last question, I feel like you guys might be a little more accepting of this. I was expecting a little bit of pushback, but here we go. Fake or authentic? Toque is a much better name than knit winter hat. Shawn, fake or authentic?
I'm sorry. I figured that we all called them toques because we're not from California. So I figured we were all civilized human beings here. We could know what words are, and we weren't too busy with kale shoved up our asses. So, it's called a toque, okay? You skateboarding freaks down in the Southwest. Get with it. Stop wearing them in the summer. You're ruining it. You think you're Tony Hawk, but you're a dork. And most of all, Bob and Doug McKenzie, okay? They called it a toque. And they're the authority on what's Canadian, apparently, according to some. So you know what? I'm listening to them. And it's called a toque. So take off, eh?
All right. Thank you for getting very ignorant and indignant. And you sound very bitter. And thank you for
Racist.
And thank you for not answering the question. The game is fake or authentic, not get mad and ignorant.
Can we play Get Mad with Shawn? That's a good game.
What's the soundtrack for that one?
Just some heavy
instrumental Nickelback.
or some grunge metal or some just that kind of music.
XXX Tentacion is angry with his angry music.
It'll be like a Rick Mercer rant, except nobody's watching and I can keep a camera straight.
And you've just made a reference that probably nobody listening understands. So
Shout out to everybody who was watching the Rick Mercer report 10 years ago. He's making the same jokes.
It's okay. I've made plenty of references on this podcast, and I'm sure nobody understands.
All right, Ben, fake or authentic, toque is a much better name than knit winter hat.
I agree with Shawn. I'll say authentic. There's not every knit hat is a toque. I like the specificity. A toque is a certain type of winter hat. And then also to piggyback off of Shawn, California can secede. They can elect Nancy Pelosi queen, and then we don't have to think about them ever again.
All right, Bpoe, you want to jump on the politics bandwagon, or do you want to play fake or authentic?
Completely authentic. Toque is a much better name for sure. Honestly, knit hat sounds like the Walmart or Target off-brand for a toque.
I wonder
it does. It's like whenever they just describe something very vaguely, like round grain O's instead of Cheerios, knit hat instead of toque. Even though I don't hear toque
store brand.
Yeah.
Even though I don't hear toque very often, it's a much better name.
This world needs more toques.
This world needs more store brand name varieties.
This is
More
this.
toques, less nukes.
Great value knit hat.
Crunchy
This is-
cinnamon oat squares.
Our compliments. Selected sheep fiber hat.
Women's genitals battle.
Oh man, I can't wait for Bpoe's reflections. It's going to be fantastic. And Bpoe's a youngin', so just wait till we can add alcohol to that mix. It'll get even better. I was kind of hoping TC would be here for this fake or authentic question because he can get quite patriotic, and I think he would picture this question as a Canada-U.S. battle rather than just a toque versus knit hat battle. But it sounds like here.
Atlanta?
What's
Does it get
that?
cold enough in Atlanta for them to take off their ball caps and stop spitting tobacco?
Of course it gets cold enough. It gets down to 65 degrees all the time.
Woo!
Ooh, that's 65. Yeah, wow.
I don't think TC can go outside if it hits 62.
Just kidding. Fun fact, I used Fahrenheit for a month to piss all my friends off, and by the end of it,
Oh man.
they literally took my phone and changed it to Celsius and said, "Stop it."
And again, there's a bunch of people listening go, yeah, of course you use Fahrenheit. What the hell?
Well, it's just funny because you can make this joke every day for a month. What's the temperature going to be? Oh, like 15? Oh, geez, better bring a winter jacket for that one. Picture that every day for a month coming from yours truly.
That's fantastic. And again, a select group of people are understanding it, but I love it. That is what we have for you this week. That was our Winter Classic themed podcast, and I think we can officially put the 2019 Winter Classic jersey reviews and ratings and thoughts to bed. That has been done to death. Unless something
After next week.
After next week. Bpoe's coming back. Bpoe's coming back for episode 56, but he's doing the episode 55 layout, so that should be fantastic. Going on hockeyjerseyconcepts.com right now. We always have the jersey casual stuff for sale. You can put those designs on shirts, stickers, phone cases, duvet covers, whatever you want. They're available there for purchase. So head on over to hockeyjerseyconcepts.com and check out the shop tab. Just announced this week, if you're listening to the podcast on the week that it comes out, the Nashville Predators redesign competition. So entries are due November 23rd, 2018 by noon Eastern time. Get started on those. Nashville took a pretty big hit in the Adidas switchover. So collectively, let's come together and come up with many, many better designs. Concept of the week, October, the monthly vote going on the blog, as well as the weekly vote, as always. So log into a Google account, get over to the blog, and place your votes. Shawn, Ben, and Bpoe, thanks for joining me this week. This is a lovely Winter Classic podcast.
Thanks as always. Gonna get this in now. Baba booey, baba booey.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
I hate you
really
for doing
hoping
that.
he was just going to be completely silent.
I thought I'd break the ice. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, usually you guys are pretty good at not saying anything when I say thanks for being on. So this one worked out really well. And I think
I'm also not stoned, so you know.
I think we should end it on that note. And remember, you can get involved in anything we've talked about on Twitter at HockeyJC or emailing the podcast at hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. Make sure
Shawn,
Yeah.
Ryan has muted you every other time that you've done this during the outro of the podcast. Nobody's going to understand why you just did that.
Oh, okay. So fun fact, in the early days of the HJC podcast, back when it was called the HJC podcast, TC and I used to end every podcast we had together by shouting Baba Booey, Baba Booey. Which if you don't know is what some lucky Americans get to say on C-SPAN when they call in to answer really serious political questions. So we do that to end the podcast, as you should, if you ever call into anything. But we didn't know Ryan just turns our mics down.
because I have the power.
And he didn't tell us that until like 2 weeks ago.
So you guys have been doing it for like 40 episodes, and I just...
And none of you guys heard it. You might hear it if you go and find like the first 3 episodes where it's TC and I, and they're only on YouTube.
Yeah, episodes 1 through 13 exclusively on YouTube. So
they're interesting.
they are fantastic. How dare
They're
you?
baby steps. They're baby steps.
Well, that puts to bed episode 55. Remember to share the podcast with your friends. Like, download it, listen, spread the word.
Smash that like button.
Smash it! Smash it into your computer so that you need a new computer. And then you'll have to listen to the podcast again, and we'll get credit for it. As long as you listen for a minute.
And then smash that like button again on your new computer.
Smash the hell out of it. All right, everyone, thanks for joining me. All the listeners, thanks for listening. Goodbye. We'll talk to you next week.